Hello, 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 hello. Hopped on a couple minutes early just because I'm still trying to figure out what's going on, honey. Just still trying to figure out what's going on. Hey, I see you guys coming on in. I appreciate you. How we feeling today? Let me know in the chat, please. Where you from? It's 6 o'clock on the dot. Like I said, I had to get on just a few minutes early just to make sure I was set up this time. Because last week, not so much. You gonna let me know where you're from in the chat? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Y'all come on in here and let's talk. Really in the chat? Really what? Me being silly? Yes, really. Y'all know me. If you don't, you will get to know me. Silly, silly. I like to have a good time, honey. Yes, share this for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Come on, peoples. Come on. Y'all come on in here and let's talk. Y'all get on in here. I see more people coming in. Where you from? Where you from? Put it in the chat. We need a name for my subscribers. Y'all help me figure out a name for what the viewing audience, will be called. I don't know. I can't think anything catchy from Carlin. I don't know about that. Anyway, for those of you that don't know me, I am a retired corporate finance executive with over 20 years of strategic finance experience, heavy on the strategic. So I've worked in several very, very large billion-dollar companies in their finance department and fine-tuning their operations. So everything money and finding money, i.e. improvements, that's me. I even do it at home. So that's what I created this space to talk about, was how I can translate my corporate finance background into usable tips and tricks for people every day. so we can go and get them finances together. Or maybe give you some ideas that you didn't really know about. Nobody wants to tell me where they're from in the chat. Come on. General vicinity, East Coast, West Coast, where you from, where you from? You might even be outside of the US. Hello? That's where we're trying to take this. Anyway, so to follow up on last week's conversation, baby, I've had some great conversations about people getting raises and the big jumps in salary as part of their what? New employment agreement. Move around. Move around. They're not necessarily going to give you what you want where you are. Or if they do, it's a bump, but it might not be what you're looking for. So you might have to move around. And I understand that's not every industry where you can move around so easily if you are in a very, very specialized field or a very specialized job. But most of us can move around. And it's time to do that. So congratulations to the folks that I spoke to. Those two in particular with that nice raise and a good bump in salary as part of your new employment agreement. That's what we got to do, honey. We got to move around. We got to move around. But let's talk about what we do with that money though, right? So when you get an increase and or you negotiate a new salary altogether at a new place of employment, now that you secured the bag, now you really have to secure the bag, right? So we're not gonna go upping our spending. I've had this conversation too. We're not about to go buck wild and pop bottles. Even though, we're feeling good, we're getting more money in our pockets, we're getting closer to our goals, maybe. But we have to learn how to stay composed and make that money work for us now, right? So don't increase your budget. Speaking of budget, just let me pause that thought for a second. So June 1st, I am launching my money journal, which is really a journal that you're going to write. There's writing prompts, there's all these type of things, but then we're going to get to the meat and potatoes and actually get into money, honey. We're going to get into some real money stuff. And so when you get to that section of how to create your budget, how much to save, how much you should have in expenses, we're not going to plug in that new number. Unless you're underwater already, we're not putting that new number as income. We're going to use that old paycheck amount, and we're going to use that money to do something else. So we're either going to build an emergency fund if you don't have one or if it's not where you want it to be. We're going to save it for a big expense that you might be looking forward to, i.e. a car, house, that sort of thing. Or we're going to apply it to some very, very high interest debt. We are not, I repeat, not increasing our spend. I know that's what you did. You don't want to hear that. I know. But let me tell you, anytime I got pay increases or one of those 5 jobs that I had in 10 years, I wasn't doing this. More house, more car, more this, more that. Absolutely not. We're not going up. We're going to keep it right where it is, and we're going to apply that somewhere else. So a lot of people, the key to being debt-free and retired by 37 was maintaining my composure and sticking to the plan. Because I could have went buck wild. I mean, all of us can go buck wild, right? But that is not the goal. The goal is to do more things that we enjoy in life. I call myself the time freedom tutor. We're going to free up some of your time so you can do more things that you enjoy, like spend time with your family, travel, that sort of thing. So if we free up some more money, that time freedom gets to be real nice real fast. So it's raise season, right? We're in that time frame, June, July, August. Raises are going to go into effect. Some of you negotiated some new salaries as part of your new employment agreement. Go ahead, shout out to you. But we're not going to up that spending. We're going to keep it right where it is. So the key to us getting our house paid off was anytime we had a bonus, a raise. I changed job 5 times to get what I wanted, right? To get what I was worth. We didn't up the spending. We applied it to principal. We applied it to student loans. We applied it to debt. We got rid of everything that had a payment with that money. So that's what I want you to do. Okay? All right. And again, my money journal is coming out on June the 1st. So not only will I have a money journal for you, but I'm actually going to open up my books. I'm going to make time available to consult with you all. So I'm actually going to do these lives for people that just want to ask questions and get a little tip or trick here or there. But if you want to get in detail and fine tune your budget and your money mindset and work with me directly, I will also have that available. And you know what? I think I'm also going to do a money journal for businesses and offer the business consulting as well. Because a lot of my conversations, basically, this is going to be taking my conversations out of the group chat onto YouTube. I mean, let's just call a thing a thing. That's what this is. I'm taking conversations out of the group chat and just talking about it because the people around me or the people that I encounter or the people that, refer me to other people, I feel everybody kind of has the same questions, right? Or maybe they do and just don't know how to ask it or don't know who to ask. So for the business side of it, you can consult with me on, should you even go into this business? Is it financially viable, right? I can walk you through that and get some information from you in order to give you some advice on that. And then additionally, right, the personal side. So I get a lot of budgeting questions. I get a lot of, what do I do with this? How do I do what you did? So I'll be taking one-on-ones, you guys. A couple weeks ago, I wasn't sure if I was going to do that. But, I can set my own calendar and that sort of thing. So it'll be very limited, but I will work and do one-on-ones with you all. Okay? All right. I will work with y'all. All right, chat. Questions? I just did a little quick review of where we were from last week and what I'm working on in the background, singing in the background. I'm singing in the background. Any questions? Another thing that keeps coming up this week is affording or buying a house. There's a lot of memes floating around about what you can afford and what you can't based on your salary. All I can say is it's interesting. The memes are interesting. I feel like a lot of people don't know what they're actually getting into with mortgages because they're so front loaded with interest that we don't quite grasp the concept of what we're actually paying for. And we've just gotten so accustomed to making notes and paying notes on everything. I want us to think about it differently. Credit is an amazing thing and you can leverage it in so many ways, but the average consumer is not leveraging debt the proper way. We're just not. We talk about credit scores and what it means to have an amazing credit score, and I pre-qualified for this amount of house. Speaking of, do you know they pre-qualified us for $1 million? This was way back in what, 2010? $1 million. Who's who who's paying $1 million for a house? Who? Absolutely not. The interest alone, you would never get out of that mortgage. Can you imagine what the mortgage and interest payment, what your overall payment would be for $1 million home? Especially way back in 2010 when our salaries weren't as high. Absolutely not. I don't even know how they pre-qualified us for that amount, but it was outrageous. And I have a cap on what I'm willing to pay. So let's work backwards from what I want to pay for a mortgage to what that converts to in terms of overall cost of a house. Because that's how we're going to do that. Give or take $200-$300 from what we were paying for in rent. And that was it for me. That was a cap. Because don't get it twisted. Rent in Dallas was high. Okay? So it wasn't like we were paying $600-$700. It was up there. So if it was more than a couple $100 than what we were paying in rent, then $1 million. No, ma'am, Pam. No, ma'am. Not $1 million. You guys know I already felt stuck in the mortgage that we had. I just felt so overwhelmed and consumed with fear. Honestly, never been that amount of debt in my life. But if you work to get to where you want to, I have this conversation a lot too. I had some friends just buy a house and they said, I want to pay it off like you. You can. You can. What is this, the month of May? Oh, all my bi-weekly friends, May is a 3 pay period month. If you set up your budget basically on a monthly basis, which means 2 paychecks, put that third one away. Put that third one away. Save it for a car, your emergency fund if that's not where you want it to be, vacation. Absolutely. Put that check up. Let's not blow through it. Let's not blow through it. Put that third check away. There's another month this year that has 3 checks if you're a bi-weekly person. I'm not sure which month it is, but I know the current month, May, is. And put it away. It's another question I get. How did you save money to save for a car? Back in the gap, when I was on payroll, that third check got put away. So 2 paychecks a year. It's another way to save for a big purchase or pay something off. So when you get into these conversations of, well, I can't afford to pay my house off. Why not? Or I can't afford to make an extra payment on my house. Not pay it off. Back it on up. I can't afford to make an extra payment a year. Or I can't afford to. Let's do something different. So on my bi-weekly folks, it's a 3 pay period month. Put that check away. Again, if your emergency fund isn't where it needs to be, if you're saving something, or if you want to make a principal only payment, let's do something with that money. That's not just blowing through it. Let's get it towards a longer term goal. Let's get it towards a longer term goal. Hey, we got some more people joining. Where you at? Where you from? Let's get some questions in the chat. Like I said, my goal here is just to take the conversations I have out of my group chat and just talk to you guys about it, because I get asked these questions all the time. all the time. Okay, that's a good question. If we save the third check, how do you set yourself up success from the second check to the next check in that 4-week gap? So if your budget is already set up on a monthly budget, which means normally you would get 2 checks in a month, let's just work a little smarter here. You know when your bills need to be paid, and your budget should already be established for, let's say, 2 checks. Now, if you're 2 times a month, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the bi-weekly girlies and guys, the bi-weeklies. What do you do to set yourself up for success? Automate these things. Those 2 paychecks that you have, they should already be automated to save, to pay, fund. You should already have that money divvied up. Or if you can't save the whole check, let's aim for half. How's that? It doesn't have to be all or nothing. We can listen. I can work with you. I can negotiate a little bit, you know? You know? I was in the room for negotiations, honey. Negotiations is my team. I can work with you. I can work with you. But let's just not blow through that check is my point. If you need it for something, you need it for something. But what we're not going to do is just blow through it. Let's just think a little more strategically. A little more strategically. So I said at the top of the video, my expertise is strategic finance. Strategic. I can come up with a strategy to get where I want to get to. Yeah, so if you don't save that whole third check, then let's save a portion of it. Let's go for half. That's helpful. I always pay the bills myself. Sometimes the due date switches. Oh, okay. Yeah. Based on the number of days in a month, I can see that. I can commit to that. See how we work together, honey. Yes. And like I said, for the bi-weekly employees, there's 2 months out of every single year that you're going to have 3 paychecks. And I saved that check so I had 2 checks saved. So when I came to Jay with the let's pay the house off, we already had a starting point. Now Jay is a twice a month, and a twice a month thing. So he didn't have that to do necessarily, unless, which is what we ended up doing, your check is going to be slightly larger for those twice a month employees, right? Because you're getting paid 24 times instead of 26. So when you do your monthly budget, you can adjust some of those numbers down. So if your monthly expenses are supposed to be X%, let's adjust that by 5 to 10%. 10 is a lot. Let's adjust that down so that we're allocating those funds in a similar fashion as if it was bi-weekly, right? So I want to say maybe teachers also get paid twice a month instead of every 2 weeks. It really just depends on your payroll setup, right? But yes, my bi-weekly folks, let's put that third check up, or at least let's try for half. May is your month to start getting it together. Because come June 1st, that money journal is going to be out. And I'm opening my books to consult and work with you one-on-one. So let's get made together. Let's get made together and start practicing for what is to come. We got to set ourselves up, guys. We have to set ourselves up. You want to enjoy more of your time and do more of what you want to do, you have to put yourself in a financial position to do so. That's the whole goal. Sign me up. Okay, then. That was a good question, though. Any other questions? That three paycheck pay period is clutch. I'm telling you. I am telling you. That in bonus time. Because, baby, we stacked those bonuses. So when it was time to pay the house off, I joined late. What's this evening's topic? Really, I was just reviewing what we talked about last week and was mentioning some people that ended up getting a raise or negotiated higher salaries as part of their new employment agreements. We're not going to up our budget and our spending as a result of that. We're not doing that. We're going to leave that old income number at the top. Whatever falls out as the new money and that raise or that new salary, we're going to use it to build ourselves up. So we're going to use it to build an emergency fund. If that is not where you want it to be, we're going to use it to pay down high interest debt, or we're going to save it for a major purchase. I don't know if you have a car fund, a house fund, a tuition savings fund, anything like that. We're going to put that money aside. We're not upping our spending. We're not doing that. And we're not doing it. We're going to keep it the same. The whole bonus, or you got a little play money. Listen, we had enough play money. So between, I have what's called a slush fund. I'll make my emergency fund checklist available again as well, just for free. I think it's about 11 pages on how we structure our accounts, or if you use envelopes, how you structure your financials at home. I'll make that available again. But we didn't necessarily need our bonuses for play money. We had a pretty large discretionary entertainment fund. I call it a slush fund account. And so our bonuses were applied towards something that will help us get out of debt. Absolutely. Now, play money is play money, right? But what I don't want you to do is when you get a bonus, is blow through it. Maybe you carve out 5 to 10% to have a little fun with. There is nothing wrong with that. I think people confuse being disciplined with not enjoying life. I'm going to just pause there. Being disciplined, for me, helps me enjoy life, right? Because I don't have to wonder or be afraid of, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Because I have this budget set up. It's automated to go where it needs to go. And so that allows me to be just a little more limber and free in life and have fun. I think people absolutely confuse being disciplined with not having fun. That's like saying professional athletes don't have fun doing what they're doing because they practice or they're regimented in the gym. They enjoy what they're doing, but they're also very disciplined about their craft and what they do. That's what I need to work on, discipline. Absolutely. And it is a practice. You have to practice. You do. If it doesn't come naturally to be focused and disciplined and say, hey, I'm not going to touch this money, then you have to do something in order to push yourself into that. So if you put it in an asset that you can't touch for 18 months, i.e. a CD, i.e. a high yield savings account that has a term, then that's what you have to do. Sometimes I think we're afraid of the help. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Give yourself some grace, because most of us weren't taught any of this. I know I wasn't. I just happened to go to school and then, become an accountant and then a corporate finance executive. But this isn't stuff that was talked about in my home or anything that I necessarily learned. I had to learn it in college because I had a set amount of money that I would get every month, and the rest was up to me. Don't call me. Don't ask me for anything else. This is what it is, and you figure it out. But y'all know. Well, if you don't know, budgeting and being strategic with my money, I've been doing this since I was 14 years old. Okay? I was 14 with 2 jobs. Illegally. But I had 2 jobs. Back in the day, you had to have working papers. I want to say if you were under 16, and I had my they took your working papers, right, while you were actually working. And so that was the only place you can work. Baby, I went to the people's office and said, I lost my working papers and got another one. So I had 2 jobs that summer. And that summer, I had already, do y'all remember the JCPenney catalog? Baby, I had my Arizona jeans picked out. I had all my outfits. I had all of this stuff, honey. I was ready. I knew what shoes I wanted to buy because, Guess was all the rage back then. I knew everything that I wanted, and I put together, including tax, how much money I needed to save and earn during that summer in order to have what I needed for the next school year. 14. I've been doing this a long time, y'all. A long time. How long would you say, maybe a range, does it take someone to become disciplined with the right help? That's really dependent upon you and how seriously you're going to take it. But what do they say? After 21 days, it becomes a habit. Is that the thing? I would give it 6 to 8 weeks if I'm being honest. Or if we're doing days, let's go 60 to 90. Because that first month, I want you to track everything that you're spending. Cash, charges, that sort of thing, right? So it's going to take them a little minute to understand how you spend money in order to change it. Does that make sense? Okay, so yes. Okay. So it's going to take you a minute to understand how you spend money. And then we can work on the discipline part to say, hey, I'm not going to do that because I'm trying to get to this. So I'm not going to get that morning coffee every single day. I can make it at home. I'm not going to get that breakfast every single day. I'm going to figure something else out. I'm not going to order lunch or DoorDash dinner if that's your thing. You know what I'm saying? So we just have to be more cognizant of how we actually spend money in order to affect the change of how we do things. Because another, what we call in finance is called creep, right? So cash flow is one thing. I'm getting real accounting finance nerd here. Cash flow is one thing, but when it has to go out is something different, right? So you can have money coming in, but you know what's going out. And you know what causes that creep a lot of times? Swipe, right? We swipe that debit and or that credit card, and we don't really pay attention to how much we're actually spending. Because we're not tracking, okay, this is the amount of money I have in my account for bills. This is how much credit card charges I've had this month, right? We're not doing the math. The math is not mathing because we're not doing it. We're not running the calcs. We got to run the calcs as we go along. right? So a lot of it is not being cognizant of what we're swiping. Some of us are so overwhelmed with credit card debt that you feel like it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. Because baby, all these cards about to be maxed out anyway. So that's a part of the problem is the ease in which we can spend, the ease in which we can swipe in these apps or double tap your phone to pay for things. It's wild. It's wild. Debit card versus credit card. I keep hearing you use credit card instead then pay it off. Do you agree? Absolutely. You know why? But this is only if you're disciplined. Only if you're disciplined. Our credit cards don't have balances month to month. Let's start there. So I'm not talking about the maxed out tapping the limit credit cards, right? I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about people that use credit cards in a very disciplined way to pay things throughout the month and then pay them off every month. That is absolutely what we do. It keeps the credit card open. It gives us some sort of installment type of payment. I keep getting dinged on my credit. I think my credit score is at 806, but they keep saying, oh, to be higher if you had installment payments, i.e. a car or a mortgage, which I don't have and I'm not going to get. But I do use credit cards instead of debit cards. Once you swipe that debit card, that money is gone. Why not use somebody else's money essentially to delay that payment? So then you have 30 days to make that payment as opposed to it being gone right now today. But again, you have to be very, very disciplined and knowing how much you're putting on that credit card every single month. So as I go along and I get gas or I purchase something, I'm very cognizant of what my budget is and what that spend can be because you're literally looking at it in real time, right? My credit card balance has to be below what I have budgeted to spend during the month, whether that's we don't, but some people pay property taxes and different things for their house on a credit card. They charge too much money in order for us to do that instead of an electronic check. So there are some things I won't use a credit card for, but for the most part, the things that I do, which is gas, that sort of thing, I'm very cognizant and aware of the dollar amount, right? You're literally watching your credit card balance. I'm very keen and aware on what that dollar amount is. So yes, I absolutely agree to use a credit card instead of a debit card and pay it off every month. Absolutely. It's good for your credit, right? You keep that card open. And then it does contribute to your overall score. And again, I'd rather delay payment by 30 days than to pay it right now today. Why not? Why not? I have a starter credit card which comes with a yearly fee. Can I get it waived? If yes, how? Also, will they waive it every year? Call them and ask them. Call them and ask them. You'd be surprised at what companies are willing to do and work with you on if you ask. So if they have a number on the back of that card, I would call them and ask them. Will they waive it every year? Maybe not, but again, I would call every single year. I certainly would. Anytime our cable bill would go up, we would call and negotiate the new customer rate. I think, honestly, we just got rid of our cable provider last year because we negotiated that rate every single year. Anytime we saw that new bill and that balance went up $70, $80, absolutely not. If you want to retain me as a customer, you're going to get rid of this. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'll do just that. Absolutely. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call. That is like my pet peeve in life. All people can say are yes or no. There's no harm in asking. And we have to get out of that mindset that we just have to accept things as they are. Most things can absolutely be a negotiation. Mm-hmm. That's just me. That's my mergers and acquisition experience. Everything is negotiation. Hello. I've been in the room negotiating with Home Depot executives. Okay. Yeah. Walmart executives. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All I can say is yes or no. Are we going to be partners or not? Or no? That's all I can say. Yes or no? Some good questions. But I do avoid credit cards with annual fees because what am I paying for exactly? To use your card. You know how many people would give me a free one? I don't understand. I don't quite get it. But okay. All right. Any other questions? If not, how many credit cards should someone have? Ooh, that's a good question. So really and truly, I would stick to two. And here's why. A lot of people say just one, but when your card is compromised, what are you going to use? For somebody that's, not as disciplined and maybe that's the advice they give is one credit card. But again, what do you do if your card has been compromised and they issue you a new one? You know how long it takes to get those cards back in the mail. Can you go a week to 10 days without being able to pay for something online, or in my case, getting gas, or you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I would recommend at least two. Because the two credit cards I have, I mean, huge, kind of obscene balances. I want to say like 30,000 a piece, which I don't even come close to. But just in case one is breached or compromised, I would recommend two for sure. I don't get into the store credit cards just because that's too much for me to manage. I like to see everything all in one place. So if you have a credit card that's attached to your bank and you can see all of your accounts, or one additional credit card that's outside of all of your banking information, then sure. But for me, I don't like having 4 or 5 different apps to try to track where I am financially. That's just not my thing. It's a little overwhelming for me. I don't like it. I don't like it. So I have two, and really I use one exclusively unless they don't accept that form of payment, and or I mean, the one card has never been compromised, but you just never know. So it's good to have at least two. So if my credit card has annual fees, do I cancel? Won't that affect my credit score? Yes. Yes and yes. I would try to search for credit cards that don't have annual fees. I feel like the credit cards with annual fees are um more rewards focused, right? So if you have this card, then you'll rack up all these points to be able to use to do X, Y, or Z. I don't know how important that is to you. It's not as important to me. I have a credit card where I get credits towards travel, but again, that's not necessarily important to me, or cash back. Um, I'm more about that fee, how and where it's accepted, that sort of thing. And yes, it will impact your credit score, but when you close credit cards, um, that's not considered a query. I feel like queries when someone's trying to open credit, that impacts your score more than closing something. So if you don't have anything to purchase in the very near future, um, It'll impact your score maybe 20, 30 points, but after 30 to 60 days, it'll be back to normal. It doesn't impact you that much. Because I've had cards just close on me. I had no idea I even had open or owned. And I'm like, wait, I just got an alert. We have closed this account. I'm like, oh, okay. Check my credit score, and it's still 806, 810. It didn't necessarily impact anything. If I have a credit card for a year with a good payment record, how often should I inquire about a balance increase? So most of the time, they won't increase your balance without an increase in income. That's kind of what they look at, and they look at your debt to income ratio sometimes. So it really just depends on where you are and what you have outstanding in credit. So yeah, let me read that question one more time. If you had a credit card for a year with a good payment record, how often should I inquire about a balance increase? I mean, once a year is good. I do everything on an annual basis. I review my providers, I review insurance rates, credit card rates, but that's not really an issue since I pay it off every month. But anything that is costing me money, baby, I'm going to inquire about it every single year. I have it saved in my phone. That's something to do on my calendar. Absolutely. Circling back, so you recommend two different companies for the two different cards? Yes, I do. Because if one is compromised, then you have a backup. Absolutely. Yes. Two different companies, two different banks, maybe even two different types of cards. You can have a Visa, MasterCard, Discover, Amex, right? You can have different forms of credit cards. So if your income increases a decent amount every 2 years or so, but you find the credit company isn't increasing your balance even when requested, do you recommend switching companies? You can look into it, but that's not a guarantee that they're going to give you a higher balance elsewhere. Again, they're looking at a full package. What we don't necessarily see on our end when we see that credit score is debt to income ratio, all that sort of stuff. So there's some behind the scenes calculations that they absolutely do. And again, absolutely shop around. If you want a higher balance in order to do different things, right? Because some credit cards give you $2,500. You're like, what am I going to do with that? But yes, you can absolutely shop around. Any thoughts on the Discover buyout, or is this bad or good for the consumer? Us. Child. To be honest, I honestly don't know a lot of people. Never mind. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if the rates change for existing cardholders. That's all I'll say about that. We just have to see. We just have to see. Most of the time, when things are bought out, they're collapsing some benefit, right? So even when, let's go back to negotiations and corporate. Sorry, I'm knocking my phone around a bit. Even if I go back to my negotiations with big retailers, if we bought a company and they merged into our existing contracts that existed with those retailers, something is getting collapsed. In this case, i.e., the range in which certain marketing dollars and percentages apply, right? So let's say I work for a $1 billion company, which is actual and factual, but the sales into Home Depot was $50 million. Now we've acquired a company that's another 10 million. So now we trip a tier, right? And we have to pay Home Depot more marketing dollars because we've tripped a tier, right? We've gone out of this range and now we have more product, and so we tripped a tier. But what happened from the acquired company to our company is they collapsed a tier in between, right? So instead of starting at 25 million, now the first tier starts at 30, and then it jumps up astronomically from there. So 9 times out of 10, when buyouts happen, right, something from the other company is going to be collapsed, and it impacts the consumer. So yeah, there is going to be something, i.e. a rate, um, maybe even the credit limits, right? Something is going to be collapsed because that deal comes with certain conditions, right? And they're trying to make an improvement in their operations as a result. So things like this don't just happen on a corporate level. It's very strategic. So them getting bought out is to consolidate something from a cost perspective to increase the bottom line. And unfortunately, we're going to be the ones that pay for that bottom line. If you have their cards, absolutely. Yeah. But baby, those collapsing of the tiers and those marketing dollars just skyrocketing once you added another company, it'll have you thinking about any additional mergers or acquisitions. Or you can be like me and negotiate those rates. I was the one sitting there running a calculator like, now, wait a minute, this is going to cost us 6 figures. Now, you're not being a good partner. Now, come on. We're supposed to be partners here. Come on now. Well, yes, these were some good questions tonight. Again, June 1st, launching the Money Journal. I'll also have one for business, and I'm actually going to do one-on-ones. Oh my God. For personal finance and also on the business side, i.e., should I even open this business? Where can I find money to save in my business? Work on negotiations, contract negotiations, that whole thing. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, I'll have very limited space because I enjoy my time. But I will have that available. So really quick, let me give you some spring cleaning tips. I'm going to try to leave you with 3 at the end of each video, okay? So 3 spring cleaning tips. Summer is on the way. Let's gear up to use that vacation time. Yeah, use that PTO. Use that PTO. Use that PTO. Yeah. Prepare the others because I'm out of here. Let's gear up and think about how we're going to use that time off and how we're going to spend it with our families, that sort of thing. So springtime, let's think about how we're going to use up that time or use some of it because we need it. We need a break. We need to enjoy the sunshine. We have been working hard. We have been disciplined. So springtime, let's think of ways to gear up for the summer. Another thing, we talked about having 3 pay periods if you're a biweekly employee. Tweak that budget if you need to. Not up. Move some dollars around, right? Parents, you might have summer camp. You got them kids at home all day, increase in groceries. Let's move some money from one bucket to another in your existing budget, not spending more. Not spending more. Let's reallocate some funds and see if we can move some money around, okay? And then thirdly, we've been having credit conversations this entire time. Review your credit. Make sure there's nothing on there that shouldn't be. And that we're maintaining our score, that nothing is that things are unchanged. Because sometimes as we go into the fall, we're considering car purchases or home purchases, right? A lot of home buying happens in the summertime when the kids are out of school and, parents have a little more free time and a little more leeway in their schedules to do things. We want to make sure that credit is good, okay? We want to make sure there's nothing on it there shouldn't be, no inquiries, no balances that we didn't know about. We're going to make sure that credit is good. So let's get the spring cleaning and thinking about some financial stuff as we head into the summer. Okay. Anything else before we go? This has been a really good conversation. Thank you so much. See you next week. Oh, yes. See you next week. All right, guys. I don't see any more questions coming through. So I will bid you adieu. Y'all have a good night. Bye.